Meanwhile, conservatives in Congress are expressing growing disappointment over this year's budget. Some say they want to cut spending, but they're being held back by the Senate and House leadership. One America's Hines has more on this from Washington.
As Congress returns to work from a Memorial Day recess, there is lingering frustration amongst conservatives over the budget. Representative Marsha Blackburn says conservatives tried and may have failed to cut the budget by some $30 billion this year.
People say, well, it's only $30 billion. Well, the debt is only $19 trillion. And at some point, somebody's got to say, stop it. You cannot spend money you do not have on programs the American people do not want.
Representative Dave Bratt says Congress did not follow regular order, which left a high budget number of $1.07 trillion in place from a previous agreement.
The tricky part is we did not follow regular order. So we passed the budget last year, and that 1070 number is still in play through this coming September. So if you don't do a budget, you're kind of left with that as kind of the baseline, and that number doesn't reflect any fiscal discipline. And so some of us are fighting hard to bring the American taxpayer some relief.
Not only were conservatives unable to cut budget spending this year, but it looks like leadership in Congress has decided to quietly just not pass a budget at all, says Paul Winfrey, an economic policy analyst at the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank.
Now we have a predicament in front of us where the Senate was never going to pass a budget because the Boehner-Obama spending agreement from last fall allowed them to opt out of doing a budget before moving appropriations bills for this year. And now it looks like we're not going to have a budget in the House. And so after 1 year of having a budget, it looks like we're not going to have a budget in Congress again.
Winfrey explains the frustration of conservatives goes back a ways.
I think that one of the things that's driving some of the underlying frustration in the House, and among members like Dave Bratt and Blackburn and others, really the rank and file members in the House, is that that they feel as if the budget vote last year was a cover vote for all of the things that ultimately ended up happening that went back on the budget.
So while conservatives like Bratt and Blackburn would like to cut spending this year, they can't do it in the budget because the Senate isn't going to do one, and the House leadership has quietly decided to drop the idea and move on. John Hines, One America News, Washington.